Captain Jake Morrison floated in the command chair of the research ship Discovery, watching stars drift past the main window. His coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but he kept sipping it anyway. Space travel meant a lot of waiting, and waiting meant cold coffee. "Captain, we're getting something strange on the long-range scanner," said Lieutenant Amy Phillips from her station. She was the ship's communications officer, a young woman with bright red hair who could make any broken radio work again. Jake pushed himself over to her station. The Discovery was not a big ship, and everything was close together. It had been his home for 2 years now, along with his crew of 12 scientists and engineers. They were supposed to be mapping new star systems looking for planets that might be useful to Earth. "What kind of strange?" Jake asked. Amy pointed at her screen. "It's a signal, but not like anything in our databases. The computer says it's coming from about 50 light-years away. That's way past where any human ships have gone." Dr. Lisa Carter drifted over from her research station. She was the ship's expert on alien life, though she had never actually met any aliens. Nobody from Earth had. Lisa was a small woman with dark skin and clever eyes that always seemed to be thinking about something interesting. "Can you play it?" Lisa asked. Amy pressed a few buttons. The speakers filled with a sound like birds singing, but the song was sad and desperate. The melody went up and down in ways that made Jake's chest feel tight. Even though he could not understand the words, he could hear fear in the voice. "That's not human," Lisa said quietly. "The vocal patterns are all wrong. This is really happening. We're hearing aliens." The song played for about 30 seconds, then started over. It was the same message, repeating again and again. Jake looked around at his crew. They had all stopped their work to listen. Chief Engineer Sam Rodriguez floated near the engine room door, his face serious. Sergeant Kelly Brooks, their security officer, had her hand resting on her weapon without thinking about it. "Can we figure out what they're saying?" Jake asked. Lisa was already pulling up programs on her computer. "Give me some time. The computer can analyze the patterns. If this is a real language, we should be able to get something." For the next 4 hours, the whole crew worked on the signal. Amy cleaned up the sound and made it clearer. Lisa ran it through every language program they had. Sam checked their position to make sure they knew exactly where the signal was coming from. Finally, Lisa called everyone to the main room. Her face was pale. "I've got most of it," she said. "It's not perfect, but I understand enough." She took a deep breath. "They're asking for help. Their worlds are being attacked by something they call the Metal Swarm. 17 planets have already been destroyed. Millions of people are dead." Jake felt his stomach drop. "How many people are we talking about?" The signal mentions population numbers. If I'm reading this right, we're talking about billions of lives. The room went quiet. Jake could hear the soft hum of the ship's engines and the whisper of air moving through the vents. "There's more," Lisa continued. "They're not just calling to us. This is a general distress call going out to everyone. They're calling to all the intelligent species in the galaxy, begging someone to help them." "And nobody's answering?" Sam asked. "The signal has been repeating for 6 days. If anyone was coming to help, they would have responded by now." Jake stared out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, people were dying while others just listened and did nothing. It made him angry. "How far did you say they were?" he asked Amy. "About 50 light-years. With our engine, we could be there in 2 weeks. "Captain," Sam said, carefully, "we're a research ship. We've got some basic weapons, but nothing serious. We don't even know what we'd be fighting." "We've got 12 people," Kelly added. "What can 12 people do against something that destroyed 17 worlds?" Jake knew they were right. The Discovery was not a warship. It was built for exploring and studying, not fighting. The crew were scientists and engineers, not soldiers. Well, except for Kelly, but she was just one person. But Jake kept thinking about the voice in that signal. He kept hearing the fear and sadness. Somewhere in space, people who had never done anything wrong were being killed, and everyone else was too scared to help. "Lisa, can you send a message back to them?" Jake asked. "I think so." "Why?" "Because we're going to help them." Sam shook his head. Jake, this is crazy. We could all die. Maybe, Jake said. But if we don't try, they definitely will die. All of them. He looked around at his crew. These were good people. They had signed up to explore space and learn new things, not to fight wars. But Jake knew something about them that maybe they did not know about themselves. They were human. And humans did not walk away when someone needed help. I'm not ordering anyone to come with me, Jake said. This is volunteer only. Anyone who wants to go back to Earth can take a shuttle, I'll understand. Nobody moved toward the shuttle bay. Amy spoke first. If we're doing this, we better let them know we're coming. Lisa nodded. I'll work on the translation. We need to tell them who we are. I'll check our weapons and see what we can do to improve. Them, Kelly said. Sam sighed, but he was smiling a little. I guess I better make sure the engines are ready for a fight. Jake felt proud of his crew, but also scared. They were flying toward something that had destroyed 17 worlds. They had no idea what they would find when they got there. But they were going anyway because that was what humans did. The Discovery turned toward the signal and jumped to faster than light speed. Behind them, Earth grew smaller and smaller until it disappeared. Ahead of them, somewhere in the dark, people were waiting for help that might never come. Except it was coming. It was small, and it was probably not enough. But it was coming. The Discovery dropped out of faster than light speed at the edge of the Kalari system. Jake Morrison stared at his screens and felt his heart sink. Space was full of wreckage. Pieces of metal ships drifted everywhere like broken toys. Some pieces were still glowing hot from weapon fire. My God, whispered Amy Phillips. There must have been hundreds of ships here. Through the main window, they could see a planet covered in brown and green swirls. It looked peaceful and beautiful, but Jake could see flashes of light on the surface. Explosions. The war was still happening down there. Captain, I'm getting signals from the planet, Amy said. Lots of them. Some are calling for help. Others are giving military orders. Can you contact them? Jake asked. Working on it now. Amy's fingers moved quickly over her controls. I'm using the translation program Lisa made. It should work. A few minutes later, Amy looked up. I've got someone. They're asking who we are. Put me through, Jake said. The main screen flickered, then showed the face of an alien. Jake tried not to stare, but it was hard. The creature looked like a bird that had learned to stand up like a person. Her feathers were silver and blue, and her eyes were large and golden. She wore what looked like a military uniform. I am Admiral Thisara of the Kalari Republic Fleet, the alien said. Her voice was musical, like the distress signal they had heard. Your ship is unknown to us. What species are you? I'm Captain Jake Morrison of the human ship Discovery. We received your distress call and came to help. The Admiral's head tilted to one side like a confused bird. Human? This word is not in our databases. Where do you come from? A planet called Earth. It's about 50 light-years from here. You traveled 50 light-years to answer our call, but you are unknown to the Galactic Council. How is this possible? Jake realized that humans were completely new to these aliens. They had never heard of Earth or humans before. We're new to space travel, Jake explained. We only started exploring beyond our own system a few years ago. But we heard your call for help and we couldn't ignore it. Admiral Thisara was quiet for a moment. You came all this way to help strangers? Your species must be very brave or very foolish. Maybe both, Jake said with a small smile. Captain Morrison, I must tell you the truth. The enemy we face cannot be defeated. The Vex Collective has conquered dozens of worlds across the galaxy. They adapt to every weapon we use against them. Our greatest minds have tried everything. Nothing works. On the screen behind the Admiral, Jake could see other bird-like aliens running back and forth. Alarms were ringing. Tell me about the Vex, Jake said. They are machines. Metal beings that turn everything they touch into more machines. They learn from every battle and become stronger. They have no mercy, no fear, no weakness we can find. Lisa Carter moved closer to the screen. Admiral, this is Dr. Carter, our science officer. Can you show us what these machines look like? The Admiral touched something on her side of the screen. New images appeared showing the enemy. Jake felt cold when he saw them. The Vex looked like metal spiders the size of cars, with red lights for eyes. Some walked on legs, others flew through space. All of them had weapons built into their bodies. They landed on our outer worlds 2 months ago, the Admiral explained. We fought them with energy shields and plasma weapons. The Vex studied our tactics and built better weapons. When we used faster ships, they made faster ships. When we used stronger armor, they made weapons that cut through any armor. What about their command structure? Asked Sergeant Kelly Brooks. Do they have leaders we can target? They seem to share information instantly. Destroy one unit, and all the others learn from its death. They become harder to kill every time. Jake looked around at his crew. They all looked worried, but none of them looked like they wanted to give up. Admiral, we'd like to study one of these machines up close. Is that possible? Captain, I do not think you understand. Your ship appears to be very small. We have lost hundreds of warships to the Vex. What can one small vessel do? We won't know until we try, Jake said. We humans have a saying. Sometimes the smallest key opens the biggest door. Admiral Thisara looked confused by this, but she nodded. There is a damaged Vex ship near the fourth moon. Our weapons disabled it, but we could not destroy it completely. You could study it there, but be very careful. Even damaged Vex units are dangerous. We'll be careful, Jake promised. After ending the communication, Jake gathered his crew in the main room. Well, now we know what we're up against, he said. Machines that learn from every fight and get stronger each time. That's terrifying, said Sam Rodriguez. How do you fight something that learns from its mistakes? The same way humans have always fought, Kelly said. We adapt faster than they do. Lisa was looking at the images of the Vex on her computer. There's something interesting here. These machines look very advanced, but they all look almost exactly the same. That suggests they're mass-produced, not designed individually. What does that mean? Amy asked. It means they might all have the same weaknesses, Lisa explained. If we can find one weakness, it might work on all of them. Jake nodded. That's what we're going to find out. Amy, plot a course for that damaged ship. Kelly, get your equipment ready. We're going aboard that thing. Captain, Sam said quietly. What if this is a trap? What if the machine is just pretending to be damaged? Then we'll deal with that when it happens, Jake said. But we can't help anyone by being afraid. As the Discovery flew toward the damaged Vex ship, Jake watched the war happening on the planet below. Explosions lit up the surface like tiny stars. Somewhere down there, millions of bird-like aliens were fighting for their lives against an enemy that got stronger with every battle. The Kalari had been fighting this war for months with all their advanced technology and battle experience. They were losing badly. Now it was time to see what 12 humans with one small ship could do. Jake knew the odds were terrible. He knew they would probably all die. But he also knew something the Vex machines had never encountered before. They had never fought humans, and humans did not fight fair. The damaged Vex ship looked like a dead metal spider floating in space. It was huge, maybe 10 times bigger than the Discovery. Parts of it were torn open, showing twisted metal and sparking wires inside. But even broken, it looked dangerous. Life support shows the ship still has air, reported Amy Phillips. The temperature is cold but survivable. Jake Morrison suited up with Sergeant Kelly Brooks and Dr. Lisa Carter. They would board the alien machine while the rest of the crew stayed on the Discovery to watch for trouble. If anything goes wrong, you get out of there fast, Jake told Sam Rodriguez. Don't try to rescue us, just run. Sam nodded, but Jake could see he did not like the order. The 3 humans floated through the airlock and into the Vex ship. Inside, everything was dark except for red emergency lights that blinked on and off. The walls were covered with strange metal patterns that looked like they had grown instead of being built. This is weird, Kelly whispered. It doesn't look like any machine I've ever seen. Lisa was scanning everything with her instruments. The metal is not like anything in our databases. It seems to be some kind of living metal that can change shape. They moved deeper into the ship. The halls were wide enough for the spider-like Vex machines to walk through. Sometimes they heard sounds in the walls, like metal grinding against metal. Is something still alive in here? Jake asked. I don't think alive is the right word, Lisa said, but something is still active. They found what looked like a control room. The walls were covered with screens showing numbers and symbols. In the center of the room was a large computer that hummed softly. Lisa plugged her portable computer into the alien system. I'm getting data, lots of it. This thing has records of every battle the Vex have fought. While Lisa worked, Jake and Kelly explored more of the ship. They found rooms full of metal parts that looked like they were being assembled into new machines. Other rooms had weapons that were bigger than their entire shuttle. Jake, you need to see this, Kelly called. She was standing in front of a wall covered with pictures. But these were not normal pictures. They moved like videos showing different planets and different alien species. Are these the worlds they attacked? Jake asked. I think so. Look at this one. Kelly pointed to a picture showing aliens that looked like walking trees. The video showed the tree people fighting the Vex with energy weapons. The machines learned quickly and built better weapons. Within days, the tree world was covered in metal. Another picture showed aliens that looked like living crystals. They used mind powers to fight the Vex, but the machines found a way to block their mental attacks. The crystal people were defeated too. Every species fights the same way, Jake realized. They use their best weapons and their best tactics, and the Vex learn to beat them. But humans don't have best weapons or best tactics, Kelly said. We use whatever works. Lisa's voice came through their radios. Guys, I found something important. Come back here. They returned to the control room where Lisa was staring at her computer screen. The Vex are not actually intelligent, she explained. They're incredibly advanced programs, but they're still just programs. They have rules they follow, and they can't break those rules. What kind of rules? Jake asked. They study their enemy and find the most efficient way to defeat them. But efficiency is their weakness. They always choose the logical solution. Jake was starting to understand. And humans are not logical. Exactly. We do crazy things that don't make sense. We take stupid risks. We change plans in the middle of a fight just because we feel like it. Kelly was grinning now. We're too chaotic for their programs to predict. Suddenly, alarms started ringing on the Discovery. Amy's voice came through their radios, sounding scared. Captain, we've got company. 3 Vex ships just appeared. They're heading straight for us. Get out of there, Jake ordered his crew. We're coming back now. But as they ran toward their shuttle, they heard metal footsteps behind them. A Vex machine had activated and was chasing them. It looked like a metal spider with glowing red eyes and spinning saw blades for hands. Kelly turned and fired her rifle at it. The bullets bounced off its armor. The machine scanned her weapon and began building better armor. It's learning, Kelly shouted. Every shot I take makes it stronger. Jake looked around and saw a broken pipe leaking some kind of gas. He grabbed a flare from his belt and threw it at the pipe. The gas caught fire and exploded, filling the hall with flames. The Vex machine stopped, confused. Its programs had not expected fire. It had been prepared for bullets and energy weapons, but not for an explosion from a broken pipe. While the machine tried to figure out what had happened, the 3 humans ran to their shuttle and escaped. Back on the Discovery, Sam was flying the ship in crazy patterns to avoid the Vex weapons. The alien machines were trying to predict where the human ship would go next, but Sam kept changing direction for no reason. Why did you turn left there? Amy asked. I saw a pretty star, Sam said, spinning the ship upside down. Now I'm going right because I feel like it. The Vex ships could not understand this. Their computers kept trying to find patterns in the human ship's movement, but there were no patterns. Sam was just flying randomly. While the Vex were confused, Jake called Admiral Thisera. Admiral, we learned something important about the Vex. They can be beaten, but not the way you've been trying. What do you mean? The Admiral asked. They expect logical tactics and efficient plans. But what if we do everything wrong? What if we make no sense at all? Admiral Thisera looked puzzled. Captain, I do not understand. How can wrong tactics defeat superior enemies? Because they're not expecting wrong tactics. Their programs can't adapt to pure chaos. Jake looked at his crew. They were all listening now. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to teach the Kalari how to fight like humans. No rules, no logic, no efficiency. Just pure, beautiful chaos. That sounds insane, the Admiral said. Exactly, Jake replied. And that's why it's going to work. The Discovery flew toward the planet where the war was still raging. Behind them, the 3 Vex ships were still trying to figure out why the humans had turned left to look at a pretty star. For the first time since the war began, the machines were confused. And confusion was exactly what the humans needed. The Discovery landed at the main Kalari military base. Jake Morrison looked out at the alien city and saw buildings that looked like giant flowers made of metal and glass. But many of them were broken now. Smoke rose from fires burning in the distance. Admiral Thisara met them at the landing pad with several other Kalari officers. Up close, the bird-like aliens were taller than humans with bright feathers and quick movements. They all looked tired and scared. Captain Morrison, we are grateful for your help, the Admiral said. But I must be honest, we have maybe 2 days before the Vex overrun our defenses. Even with your ship, I do not see how we can win. Show me your battle plans, Jake said. They walked to the command center, a large room filled with computers and maps. Kalari officers were moving around quickly, giving orders and watching screens that showed the battle happening across their world. Admiral Thisara pointed to a large map on the wall. The Vex have landed here, here, and here, she said, showing 3 red areas. We attack them with our best weapons. They study our weapons and build better ones. Then they push us back. Every day we lose more ground. Jake studied the map. The Kalari were fighting exactly like every other species the Vex had defeated. They were using their best tactics, their strongest weapons, their most logical plans. What's your most powerful weapon? Jake asked. Plasma cannons. They can destroy a building with one shot. Stop using them. The Admiral looked shocked. But Captain, they are our best weapons. That's exactly the problem. The Vex expect you to use your best weapons. Use your worst weapons instead. Kelly. Brooks stepped forward. Admiral, do you have any old weapons? Things you stopped using because they weren't good enough? We have projectile weapons in storage. Simple guns that fire metal bullets. But they are primitive compared to energy weapons. Perfect. Get them out. Dr. Lisa Carter was looking at the battle reports on a computer. Admiral, I see your ships. Always attack in formation. Nice organized groups. Of course. That is proper military doctrine. Stop doing that too. Have your ships attack alone or in random groups. Make no pattern at all. The Kalari officers were looking at each other with confusion. One of them, a young male with green feathers, spoke up. With respect, these humans are suggesting we abandon everything we know about warfare. Jake nodded. Exactly. Everything you know about warfare is exactly what the Vex expect. They've studied every military manual, every tactical book, every logical strategy, but they've never seen complete chaos. Admiral Thisara was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked at the map showing how much ground they had lost. Very well, she said. We will try your way. But I want to understand something first. How does your species fight wars? Jake smiled. We don't have one way. Sometimes we sneak around at night. Sometimes we charge straight ahead. Sometimes we run away and attack from behind. Sometimes we throw rocks. We do whatever works, and when that stops working, we try something else. That sounds... The Admiral paused, searching for words. Completely mad. Now you're getting it, Kelly said. Over the next few hours, the humans split up to teach the Kalari their new way of fighting. Jake worked with the Admiral to plan attacks that made no sense. Kelly trained ground troops to fight without formations. Lisa showed the Kalari engineers how to make weapons from broken equipment. Sam Rodriguez taught the Kalari pilots how to fly like humans. See that Vex ship? He said, pointing at a screen. Don't attack it head-on. Come at it sideways, then up, then spin around and attack from below. When it starts to adapt, change everything. Amy Phillips worked on communications. Instead of clear military orders, try giving confusing ones. Tell your pilots to attack the shiny thing near the blue place. Make the Vex computers work harder. To understand what you mean. The first test came that evening. A group of Vex machines was attacking a small town on the coast. Instead of sending their best ships with their best weapons, the Kalari sent old fighters with simple guns. The Vex were ready for plasma cannons and energy shields. They were not ready for bullets and missiles from the previous century. The Oldari weapons destroyed several machines before the Vex could adapt. But the real surprise came when the Kalari pilots started flying like humans. Instead of proper attack formations, they came from all directions at once. One pilot flew upside down. Another one flew backward. A third one painted flowers on his ship's hull, just because he liked flowers. The Vex computers could not make sense of any of it. They kept trying to find patterns, but there were no patterns. They tried to predict what the Kalari would do next, but the Kalari did not know what they would do next either. "It's working," Admiral Thisara said, watching the battle reports. "We destroyed 12 Vex units and only lost 2 ships. This is just the beginning," Jake said. "Now we need to really confuse them." The next day, the humans helped the Kalari plan the strangest battle in galactic history. Instead of attacking military targets, they attacked random things. They bombed empty fields. They shot at clouds. They sent fake radio messages about attacking places that did not exist. The Vex tried to figure out the strategy behind these attacks, but there was no strategy. The Kalari were just making noise and creating chaos. While the Vex were distracted by the meaningless attacks, small groups of Kalari fighters snuck behind enemy lines. They did not attack the strongest Vex positions. They attacked supply lines, communication towers, and repair facilities. The Vex had never encountered enemies who ignored military logic. Their programs kept trying to predict rational behavior from completely irrational opponents. By the end of the second day, something amazing had happened. The Vex advance had stopped. For the first time since the invasion began, the machines were not winning. "Captain," Admiral Thisara said, "your chaos strategy is working, but the Vex are adapting. They're starting to expect our unexpected attacks." Jake nodded. He had been watching the battle reports too. The machines were learning, just like always. Soon they would figure out how to fight chaos with order. "Then it's time for the final phase," Jake said. "We're going to do something so crazy that even we think it's stupid." "What?" the Admiral asked. Jake looked out the window at the largest Vex ship hanging in the sky above the city. It was the size of a mountain, covered in weapons and armor. It was the command ship that controlled all the other machines. "We're going to fly a small ship right into that thing and destroy it from the inside." Admiral Thisara stared at him. "Captain, that is not crazy. That is suicide." "Maybe," Jake said. "But if it works, the war is over. And if it doesn't work?" Jake smiled. "Then at least the Vex will be really confused about why we tried it." The Vex command ship hung in the sky like a metal mountain with red lights for eyes. It was so big that it cast shadows over half the city. Smaller Vex ships flew around it like angry wasps protecting their nest. Jake Morrison stood in the Discovery's shuttle bay with his crew. They had spent the last hour preparing for what everyone knew was probably a suicide mission. The plan was simple and insane, which made it perfectly human. "The shuttle can only carry 4 people," Jake said. "I need volunteers." Every hand went up immediately. "I'm going," said Sergeant Kelly Brooks. "You'll need someone who knows how to blow things up." Dr. Lisa Carter stepped forward. "You'll need someone who understands their technology." Sam Rodriguez grinned. "And you'll need someone crazy enough to fly us through that mess." Jake looked at the rest of his crew. Amy Phillips was crying a little, but she nodded at him. The others were scared but determined. "Take care of the ship," Jake told them. "If we don't come back, get home and tell Earth what happened here." Admiral Thisara appeared on their communication screen. "Captain Morrison, are you certain about this plan? We could try other options." "What other options?" Jake asked. "That command ship is coordinating all the Vex forces on your planet. If we destroy it, the other machines will lose their connection. They'll be confused and easier to defeat. But the ship is heavily defended. Our best pilots could not get close to it." "That's because your best pilots fly like pilots," Sam said. I'm gonna fly like an idiot. The shuttle launched from the Discovery and immediately started flying in the strangest pattern anyone had ever seen. Sam flew straight up, then straight down, then sideways, then in loops. He flew between buildings and through clouds of smoke from the battle below. The Vex defense ships tried to intercept them, but they could not predict where the shuttle would go next because Sam himself did not know where he was going next. "Why are you flying toward that explosion?" Kelly asked. "Because explosions are pretty," Sam replied, diving through a cloud of fire and metal. "That makes no sense," Lisa said. "Exactly." The Vex ships fired their weapons, but they were aiming at where they thought the shuttle would be, not where it actually was. Sam's random flight path was impossible to predict. They reached the command ship and found a small opening in its hull, where some of the armor had been damaged in earlier fighting. Sam flew the shuttle straight into the opening without slowing down. "That was either the best flying I've ever seen or the worst," Jake said as they crashed inside the enemy ship. "Probably both," Sam admitted. The inside of the command ship was like a metal maze. Hallways went in all directions, filled with the sound of machines working. Red lights blinked everywhere, and the air smelled like hot metal and electricity. They moved quickly through the corridors, following Lisa's scanner toward the ship's central computer. Sometimes they heard the footsteps of Vex machines, but they hid or took different paths to avoid them. "The main computer should be in the center of the ship," Lisa said. "If we can plant explosives there, the whole system should shut down." But when they reached the center, they found something unexpected. The main computer was not just a machine. It was a massive brain made of metal and wires, pulsing with electric thoughts. Around it stood dozens of Vex guards, their red eyes scanning for intruders. "There's too many of them," Kelly whispered. "We can't fight our way through." Jake looked around and saw something that gave him an idea. The walls were covered with screens showing all the battles happening across the planet. The computer was watching everything, learning from every fight. "Lisa, can you connect your computer to their system?" "Maybe, but why?" "Because we're going to teach it something new." While Sam and Kelly kept watch, Lisa plugged her portable computer into the alien system. "I'm connected, but Jake, their security is incredible. I can't break through it. You don't need to break through it," Jake said. "Just upload something." "Upload what?" Jake smiled. "Upload humanity." Lisa stared at him. "What do you mean?" "Music, art, movies, books, games. Everything that makes humans human. All the crazy, illogical, beautiful things we do that make no sense." Lisa's eyes went wide as she understood. "You want to confuse their computer by showing it human culture?" "Exactly. Their programs are designed to understand logical military tactics. But how do you make logical sense of jazz music, or abstract art, or people who risk their lives to save strangers they've never met?" Lisa started uploading files from her computer's database. Music from Earth, paintings, poems, videos of people dancing and laughing and being human. The effect was immediate. The screens around them started flickering. The metal brain in the center began sparking and making strange noises. The Vex guards stopped moving and just stood there, their red eyes blinking in confusion. "It's working," Lisa said. "Their system is trying to analyze human culture and it's overloading their processors." But then alarms started ringing throughout the ship. More Vex machines were coming. "We need to go," Kelly said. "Now." They ran back through the corridors as the ship shook around them. The computer brain was having some kind of breakdown, sending confused signals to all the machines. Some Vex units were spinning in circles. Others were walking into walls. A few were trying to paint pictures on the walls with their weapon systems. Behind them, they could hear the central computer making sounds like screaming metal. They reached their crashed shuttle, but it was too damaged to fly. They were trapped inside a dying enemy ship with no way out. "Captain," came Amy's voice over the radio. "We're coming to get you." "Negative," Jake replied. "It's too dangerous." "Too bad. We're coming anyway." The Discovery flew straight into the command ship's hull and blasted a hole in the wall. The research ship was not designed for combat, but it made a decent battering ram when Sam's wife Amy was flying it. The crew rescued their friends just as the command ship began tearing itself apart. The confused computer was sending random orders to every system, and nothing was working correctly anymore. They escaped as the massive ship fell from the sky and crashed into the ocean with an explosion that lit up the horizon. Across the planet, the other Vex machines stopped fighting. Without their command ship, they could not coordinate their attacks. Some shut down completely. Others flew randomly through the sky like lost metal birds. Admiral Thisara contacted them from the planet. Captain Morrison, the Vex are retreating. The machines that are still active are leaving our system. We have won. Jake looked out at the stars through the Discovery's main window. Somewhere out there, the surviving Vex machines were flying away, probably still trying to understand what had happened to them. Admiral, this is important. The Vex aren't destroyed, just confused. They'll eventually figure out how to fight chaos. When they do, you need to be ready with something even more unpredictable. What do you suggest? Jake smiled. Make friends. With more humans. We're very good at being unpredictable. 3 months later, the Discovery returned to Earth with a message from the Galactic Council. The bird-like Kalari had told other alien species about the strange new species that had saved their world. Humanity was invited to join the galaxy as equals, not as newcomers or primitives, but as the species that had done something no one else could do. They had defeated an enemy that had conquered dozens of worlds, and they had done it by being completely, beautifully human. Jake stood on the bridge of his ship, looking out at the stars. He thought about all the alien civilizations out there, all the different ways of thinking and living and fighting, but when they needed someone to do the impossible, they had called humans, and the humans had answered, just like they always did, because that was what humans were for.